I was working at, and he was a colonel in the Air National Guard, and he was actually an Apache longbow helicopter pilot. And he told me that he had been on one of these maglev underground tube trains.
Bill, it would take a half hour to get from L.A. to New York in one of these things.
Yeah, it wouldn't take too long.
You know, that's. I wonder if people are using it for transportation. We just don't know about it. Why would it be a secret?
Well, see, there's
field that our body generates, that our mind generates, and it can be remotely detected and remotely influenced by radio transmitters, among other things. And so I believe that someone who had access to this technology, who also worked in or had a substantive knowledge of these activities underground, had read the article that I wrote for UFO Magazine. Who knows who reads articles when you publish them in magazines? The magazines are put out on the newsstands all over the country. Pick them up and read them. And I'm presuming that's how this person dialed in Richard Sauter's brain, as it were, and said, well, you know, he's picked an interesting topic to research here. Let me give him a little nudge mentally and see if he can be spurred on to inquire even more deeply, if you pardon the pun, into these matters and see what he comes up with. And so if that was the motivation, and I suspect it was, it worked, because I did the next morning wake up and think, you know, I can't just let this stop here. I've got to find out if what I was told is true. And at this point, I am absolutely satisfied that everything the voice told me is true, and perhaps even much more. Now, I want to say that when I, in the course of my research, first ran across the first references to Nazis. When I started doing my archival research, I ran across some references to Nazi underground installations that the Allies found when they went into Germany at the close of World War II. And at the time, I thought, you know, this is germane. This is part of the record. I should pay attention to this. But I was more focused on what's happening now, George. Right. You know, we have a very now mentality in our culture.
Didn't they just find, Richard, a few years ago, underground planes, Nazi planes that they had hidden underground? I think
the
they
Nazis
did.
Put a lot of stuff underground. Yeah. And the Nazis actually had underground aircraft factories. And as some people may know, the missiles, the V-2 rockets and the V-1s were built underground. And so they had quite a lot underground, and were putting even more underground at war's end. And you're absolutely right about that. And in fact, I suspect there are industrial plants here underground that we don't know anything about. Mm-hmm. As I continue my research, though, in recent years, I found more of this Nazi connection, and in that regard, the Project Paperclip memo that I have up on your website is actually very similar to another memo that I assume was issued at the same time, that's dated 16 June 1947, which is just about precisely 3 weeks before the events that took place in and around Roswell, New Mexico, and also west of Socorro in 1947, related to the retrieval of some very highly exotic technology by the Americans. And I'm presuming that the American military has been lying about those events ever since. Now, the memo, let me just go through it for a minute and tell you why I take this so seriously, and why NASA had it in their historical archives. Number one, there's two names on the memo I recognized right off the bat, Dr. Eugen Sanger and also General Walter Dornberger, both being sought by Project Paperclip to be brought to the United States. Now, Dornberger was, and he went to work for Bell up in upstate New York eventually. I don't know if Sanger ever came or not. I think he would have been a rather old man by then. But he, along with his wife, Irene, were really the so-called godfathers of the the boost glide aerospace technology that ultimately resulted in the American space shuttle, NASA's space shuttle. And Walter Dornberger furthered that research during the Third Reich. Of course, Werner von Braun worked under Dornberger, but Dornberger was the general in charge of the V1, the V2, and ultimately they were working on developing something called the A9 and A10, which would have had a transoceanic or transcontinental range, and which was the forebearer of the space shuttle. How did that happen? When Dornberger came over under Project Paperclip, he brought all of those plans, blueprints, and sketches, and all of the engineering design work with him in trunks, entire trunks full of documents, which was ultimately used in part by the Air Force with the aborted, or at least publicly aborted, Dyna-Soar, DYNA-SOAR program, which was the forerunner of the Space Shuttle program. And so you have two names on that Project Paperclip memo that actually brought with them technology that resulted in a real nuts and bolts major American high-tech program, the Space Shuttle program.
It put us way up. But how come the Russians were able to beat us, Richard, with the kinds of brain power that we had after the war? I guess they had the other half, booster. Right?
The Russian boosters were actually more reliable and more powerful than the American boosters, and that was a big part of it.
And they had the other half of the Nazi scientists, didn't they?
Well, they grabbed as many as they could. You have to understand this is going on simultaneously in 45 and 46. The Russians were grabbing as many as they could, and the Americans were grabbing as many as they could. But the short answer to your question is that in the 50s and 60s, the Russian boosters were actually better than the American boosters and more reliable. They could put heavier payloads up. Mm-hmm. The Redstone rockets they were using to put the Mercury astronauts up were not nearly as powerful as what the Russians were using.
And to this day, it's the same thing.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, here recently, it's only the Russians and the Chinese that can reliably put up manned crews into orbit at present. The Americans can't do that and feel like they can have their crew survive the trip. It's interesting commentary on the present state of the aerospace industry in this country, isn't it?
True.
But anyway, getting back to the Paperclip memo, I mention this because if you get around to point 4, you will see that they are specifically asking now, in terms of June 1947, the tone of this memo is rather insistent. Look, we've asked for these guys before. We want you to get them over here pronto. Who is Xaver Dorsch? Oscar Gable and the others, Helmut and Ewald and Walter Schreiber. Xaver Dorsch was at war's end, the last couple of years of the war, the head of what would be the rough equivalent of the Army Corps of Engineers in our system. But during the Third Reich, that organization was called Organisation Tod. Now, Tod is a German word for death, but in this case, it was called Organisation Tod after Fritz Tod, who was the father of the German Autobahn system, the national system of high-speed roads that he built. And so at the outbreak of war, Adolf Hitler tapped Fritz Tod, who was well-known and very accomplished civil engineer, to head up Organisation Tod, which in mid-war, about 1942 or so. And then Xaver Dorsch took over. Now, the Nazis, as you observed earlier, were building a lot of things underground during the Third Reich. And Xaver Dorsch, at war's end, or the last couple of years of the war, 44, 45, was directly tasked with Hitler. Hitler wanted him to make a series of huge underground aircraft factories and other industrial facilities. Of course, the Nazis lost the war, and so those plans never came to fruition, although I believe they had started on some of them.
Right, I think they did too.
But at war's end, the Americans did debrief Xaver Dorsch extensively on the work that Organisation Tot had done under his guidance and direction. And I, to date, do not know if Dorsch was brought to the United States. I rather suspect he may have been. I do know he was debriefed in Europe and actually was set down by the Americans and gave him a pen or a typewriter, what have you, and said, Herr Dorsch, write, spill the beans, tell us what you did. And he did. He produced hard copy documents, one of which I have read. I assume there are others that I haven't and probably can't get or even find. But they were requested his physical presence here in the United States under Project Paperclip. Now, he did turn up back in Germany in the early 50s and founded an engineering company that's called, I believe it's called...
but they
Engineer Gesellschaft.
So they used him and brought him back, though, maybe.
Yes, well, he did return to Germany and found a well-known engineering company that still exists today, and it's well respected. So he had a public career after war's end. He just didn't disappear and go away, never to be heard of again. He had an active public career in civil engineering in Germany, but I think between 45 and 52, it's very possible he was here in the United States working on things, on classified projects, because this memo makes explicit reference to the military's underground plant program, which is why they wanted Xaver Dorsch. And George, my research suggests that they started in 45, 46, and have never ended.
Why so important, Richard, to build underground? I mean, what are the advantages here?
One of the impulses in that time period, 45, 46, the Americans were developing nuclear weaponry. I think they must have seen that once you take the cork off of that bottle.
Hey, Nakai, long time no see. How are you?
Well,
what's up, Third Eye? What's up, OTS? What's up, Red Vines? I just wanted to come through real quick. I have been, on my little research kick or whatnot. I'm going to drop a couple of links in the chat of some content that you all should definitely go and check out when you get a chance. I've been getting into this topic in regards to cloning and human-animal hybrids for a minute now. And it's not as far-fetched as you would think, okay? It's really, really not. And we've talked before on this channel about Dulce, New Mexico, and the top secret lab, the underground lab, actually, that is located in Dulce, New Mexico. Okay. There's been actually even a couple of photos that have came out. So there is a really big concern out there with a lot of people about human-animal hybrids, human-animal hybrid or embryo, if I could say the word, embryos that are actually being used to create these crosses between human and animals. They call them chimeras. They call them all sorts of different things. And this, a lot of talk like this first started, sort of coming out when Phil Snyder leaked information to the world about an underground base that's located in Dulce, New Mexico. Now, from my research, my understanding is that they have managed to map the entire human genome, and that they're using the knowledge from mapping that massive human genome to create species, various different species and crosses between humans and animals. Now, recently, and I'm talking just late last year, Japan announced that they were legalizing these sorts of experiments. But what's even crazier is that China is like the wild, wild west when it comes to experiments like this. Now, the Human Genome Project may well have been the greatest direct impact on humanity of any scientific initiative. Covertly, this research has been going on for years at the Dolce Biogenetics labs. There is 7 levels in this lab. My understanding is this lab is completely underground. It goes down 7 levels, up to 2 miles into the ground with a rail system that carries people and other creatures vast distances because of how large this underground base is. Now, again, 7 levels, and level 6 is hauntingly known by employees as Nightmare Hall. That's the level where the genetic labs are. Reports from various workers, and I'm talking more than one, they've reported bizarre experiments, multi-legged humans that looked like half human, half octopuses, reptilian humans, and furry creatures that have hands like humans and cries like a baby. It even mimics human words. Huge mixtures of lizard humans that are in cages, fish, seals, birds, and mice that can barely even be considered fish, seals, birds, and mice. There are several cages and vats of winged humanoids, grotesque bat-like creatures, ranging from anywhere from 3.5 to 7 feet tall, gargoyle-like beings, and Draco reptoids. Level 7 is worse. Row after row of thousands of humans and human mixtures in cold storage. There, on level 7, are embryo storage vats of humanoids in various stages. Of development. One of the employees actually said that they witnessed or encountered humans in cages that were usually dazed or drugged, but sometimes would cry and beg for help. And they were told that these people were hopelessly insane and involved in high-risk drug trial tests. They were told to never try to speak to these humanoids or crosses, whatever you want to call them, mammalian humanoids. And there is something that you can actually do some research on called the Dolce Wars, where there was a conflict that happened between some beings and some human individuals. Humans were being produced from abducted females, being impregnated against their will. And amongst all of this, a secret group or a secret resistance group formed. And that's where the Dolce Wars and the talk of the Dolce Wars comes from. There's been a lot of really strange stuff or strange things that have happened, even just in Dulce, New Mexico. Talk about 7 foot tall, Bigfoot looking creatures. Talk of 3 foot tall little creatures. There's even a video that leaked that shows 3 little hairy short creatures jumping from car to car to car in a Walmart parking lot. Now, the lower levels of this base are allegedly under the control of inner Earth beings or aliens. This base is connected to the Los Alamos Research Facility via an underground tube shuttle. It can be assumed that such a shuttle would be a straight line construction. It should then be possible by using maps and some deduction to determine the most likely location of this base, especially since the general location is already known. And there's been a couple of people that have actually reported hearing what seemed to them to be like traffic underneath the ground. But these mammalian hybrids, there's been some photos that have came out, and there is now real photos coming out from even these hybrid animals out of China, where it is now legal to do this type of research. Right now in America, my understanding as of this moment, 2021, the American government passed laws to block the research and testing of stem cells on embryos and crossing human and animal DNA. And then at one point, when Obama took office, that law was retracted and it became then legal to essentially do this type of research. It's crazy. Absolutely insane. Now, the main source of power in this particular base in Dulce, New Mexico, is a nuclear reactor that powers this base. It's made by a company that used to be named Hyperion, and they've now changed their name. And they've only sold one item in their entire existence. And that is these little mini nuclear reactors. And from the research I've done, Hyperion allegedly fitted out this base with all the power they needed with mini nuclear reactors. Now, the first level of this particular base contains the garage for street maintenance. The second level contains the garage for trains, shuttles, tunnel boring machines, and UFO maintenance. The third level is the first three levels containing government offices. The fourth level is the human aura research, as well as aspects of dream manipulation, hypnosis, and telepathy, where they can actually lower your heartbeat with delta waves and introduce data and programmed reactions into your mind for those that have been implanted with a brain chip. Fifth level, witnesses. And now the fifth, sixth, and seventh level is where even humans are not really allowed to be. But there's been a few that have made it to these levels over the years. And this is what they've described. Huge vats of amber liquid with parts of human bodies being stirred inside. Rows and rows of cages holding men, women, and children to be used as food, perhaps thousands. And there was a video leaked back in the 90s where you can actually see row upon row upon row of cages. So if it wasn't video that leaked from this particular base, I sure would like to know where that video came from. Now, on the sixth level, the one that's nicknamed Nightmare Hall, that's where the genetic labs are. This is where the crossbreeding experiments of humans and animals are done on fish, seals, birds, and mice that are vastly altered from their original forms. There are multi-armed, multi-legged humans in several cages and vats of humanoid bat-like creatures up to 7 feet tall. And on the 7th level, it is row after row of thousands of humans in cold storage, including children. Dulce Base is said to hold the second largest repository of extraterrestrials and equipment in North America. None of this information takes into account what resources other nations and governments possess. All the evidence is anecdotal. It's pretty fascinating stuff. Now, hold on just a sec here. All right. So there was a report, a man by the last name of Costello, who reported that the Dows, aka Greys, the Dracos, aka Reptiloids, and the Kayakers are working hand in hand with over 18,000 short Greys living in that Dolce underground facility. There was an incident in which an individual had come face to face with a 6-foot tall reptoid. That reptoid showed an interest in research maps of New Mexico and Colorado. The maps were full of colored push pins and markers to indicate sites of animal mutilations, caverns, locations of high UFO activity, repeated flight paths, abduction sites, ancient ruins, and suspected alien underground bases. The multi-level facility at Dolce is reported to have a central hub, which is controlled by base security. The security level goes up as one descends to lower levels. You have to have a special type of clearance called an ultra clearance. And in this case, to be in these sub-levels, you must have what they call an Ultra 7 clearance, above top secret. There's several, actually, there are several levels above top secret in regards to clearances. Now, this individual who had this Ultra 7 clearance said that there were 7 sub-levels, but there could be more. Most of the aliens are on levels 5, 6, and 7, with aliens even having housing on level 5. And one thing I just want to say here is just because the word alien is being said does not mean that these beings actually come from space or some other planet. I believe that these particular humanoids were actually created right here on Earth. That's why scientists are so interested in cloning and cloning technology and cloning science. I don't believe they come from other planets at all. I believe it all goes back to the Watchers, the angels that God bound to the Earth. They tried by creating giants. God flooded the Earth, and now I believe that they're doing a lot of experiments like this because they want to create a type of species. Now, the other interesting thing that I've read has been the types of signs or languages of signs that you will see on the plaques at this particular base. That was a very interesting thing. Apparently, the signs are just symbols in a lot of cases. Most of the signs on the doors and hallways are in symbols, in a symbol language and a universal symbol system understood by those that work there. And after the second level, okay, everyone is weighed, okay, in order to enter into these areas past level 2, you have to be weighed in the nude, and then you're given a uniform, off-white uniforms, jumpsuits that have zippers. The weight of that person is put on a computer ID card each day. Any change in weight is noted. If over 3 pounds, okay, when you come, if you're leaving, like let's say that you enter into like level 5, 6, whatever, you weigh when you go in. If you come out and you're more than 3 pounds over what you originally weighed to get into that area, you got a problem. If that is the case, then you have to undergo a physical exam and x-ray. That's kind of scary, right? Scales are located in front of all sensitive areas and are built into the floor near doorways and the door control panels. An individual places his computer ID card into the door slot, then enters a numerical code onto a keypad. The person's weight and code must match the card or the door will not open. Any discrepancy will summon security. No one is allowed to carry anything into sensitive areas. All supplies are put on a conveyor belt and x-rayed. The same method is used in leaving sensitive areas. Now, all the elevators are controlled magnetically. There are no elevator cables. The magnetic system is inside the walls of the elevator shaft. There are no normal electrical controls. Everything is controlled by advanced magnetics, including lighting. There are no regular light bulbs, and the tunnels are illuminated by phosphorus units with broad structureless emission bands. Some deep tunnels use a form of phosphorus pentoxide to temporarily illuminate areas. These beings won't go near these areas for reasons unknown. Now, level 1 contains the garage for street maintenance. Level 2 contains the garage for train shuttles, the tunnel boring machines. The studies on level 4, as I said before, include human aura research, as well as aspects of telepathy, hypnosis, and dreams. And they seem to know how to separate the bioplasmic body from the physical body to place an alien entity, life force matrix within a human body after removing the soul. The life force matrix of the human. And that is not the first time I've heard that, where they can use the human body. Now, it's pretty freaky. Now, check this out. The gray and reptoid species are highly analytical and technologically orientated. They have had ancient conflicts with Nordic humans from other alien societies and may be staging for a future conflict. Intensely into computing and bioengineering sciences, they are led to doing reckless experiments without regard for what we would consider to be ethical and empathetic conduct towards other living creatures. Principal government organizations involved in mapping human genetics, the so-called genome projects, are within the Department of Energy, which has a heavy presence on this Nevada test site, the National Institute of Health, the National Science Foundation. Larry Devin is supposedly the chief of the genetic experiments that go down in Los Alamos and in Dulce. One scientist that talked about some of the genetic experiments that were going down in this facility says that the alien androgenal leader is capable of I don't even know if I can say this, parthenogenesis. At Dolce, the common form or reproduction, being able to reproduce, is by polyembryony. Each embryo can and does divide into 6 to 9 individual cunies, aka siblings. So basically imagine, being a woman and you have eggs, right, in our ovaries, and one or maybe two, maybe a few more travel to our uterus each month, and it'll sit there for a few days waiting to be for a sperm to come and create a baby essentially out of the egg. And if it is not seeded by sperm, we then pass it, through our periods, right? And so obviously, if one of our eggs gets seeded by sperm, we create a baby. And in some cases, that particular egg may split into two, and we have twins or triplets. But somehow these scientific experiments, they have managed to figure out how to split an embryo into up to 9 individual beings. It's crazy. Now, obviously, they don't reproduce like we do, right? And they need nutrients for these developing embryos. And they have what they call a formula. Now, this formula consists of plasma, hemoglobin, albumin, lysozyme, casein, amniotic fluid, and more. The term genome is used to describe the totality of the chromosomes unique to a particular organism or any cell within an organism, as distinct from the genotype, which is the information contained within those chromosomes. You all know the fancy stuff they've started doing now, where they can actually literally do like these really strange genetics, where if you want a blue-eyed baby, they have the ability to like trigger these particular genes and these particular chromosomes. And people are doing, they call it, there's a term for it, designer babies, okay? Rich people are doing it. They're going to doctors and they're saying, I want my baby to have blue eyes and blonde hair, blah, 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 blah. And they are actually doing this stuff in science now. Now, the human genes are mapped to specific chromosomes, okay? And there is an ambitious project that will take years and a lot of power to accomplish. But my understanding is they are trying to develop up to 9 individual species or organisms from each of these embryos. All right. And apparently, one of the rumors that they used to talk about in regards to like the Anunnaki and the beings, the Igigi, that was their worker bees that they created for slave labor. Okay. Essentially, these AKA grays, these alien beings that we see from time to time on news and legend. There's always talk about how they don't have any sort of feelings or they don't display any emotions, that sort of a thing. They don't even have all the normal organs that human beings would have, but that's kind of what happens when you play around with genetics, right? Trying to play God. Now, there is a story, if you read the Sumerian tablets, if you're into that. I don't know if you guys are, but I'm into that sort of a thing for all my life. I just love history and all of that type of thing. Y'all know how I am at this point. But one of the things, okay, that the Anunnaki had the Ajijis doing, okay, and the reason why the Ajijis were created in the first place was because they originally came with people and turned them into slave labor, and they rebelled. And so the Anunnaki said, we're going to take all of our DNA and we're going to combine it together, and we're going to create some beings for slave labor. And again, I believe the Anunnaki were the watchers that God, this book is in, God has talked about this in the Bible about how angels came to earth, they laid with women, giants were created from that. And I believe that that is the Anunnaki, okay? But other people have various different thoughts on that. But these beings don't want land, don't want gold, minerals, or water that we possess, nor even human or animal life. What they do want is magnetic power that surges on and through the earth. These beings harvest this power in a way unknown to us. These beings seem to recognize this power as more valuable than any other commodity on our globe. And you all ever wondered, why is gold so important? It's so important that people invest into gold. The crazy thing is there is a story on the Sumerian tablets about the Anunnaki, okay, coming to our planet. And there is all this talk about Planet X and Planet Nibiru or Nibiru, if you've ever heard of that particular planet that has an elliptical orbit around the sun. And it orbits in this elliptical orbit and comes by the Earth every 3,000, 3,500 years or something like that, a time frame like that. And when it comes close to the Earth, it has such a magnetic push on us. I can't say that word, Dolly. Hey, baby. Hey, just about 5. Hold on. Let me look at Dolly. Dolly said, wait. She said, hey, boo, your mind is having a misfire. It's Anunnaki. Yeah, that. It's hard to say that word. Anunnaki. But there's this talk in these Sumerian tablets about these Anunnakis wanting gold or needing gold, trying to get all the gold here on Earth because they would melt it down and use it to reflect the sun away from where they were located at on Planet X. Okay. I don't know how true that is. Honestly, that sounds pretty damn far-fetched, but that's what is written in the Sumerian tablets. So if you ever want to know why Planet X or Planet Nibiru, however the hell you say that, is just look into those legends. It's quite an interesting story. Now, there's there was a man who claimed or said that he actually escaped from this base in Dulce. And what he witnessed while he was there, he saw cattle being mutilated and drained of their blood, vats containing human body parts, implants that were placed in the bodies, including this individual's body. And that these beings have the ability to somehow control their minds through telepathy. There's been a crap load of reports of UFOs, strange lights seen over where this base is supposed to be. And there's talk about there being a computer program that can translate alien radio transmissions. So, you know, that gets my interest, right? But apparently these beings are somehow transmitting all sorts of weird stuff, y'all. It's crazy, okay? It's a very interesting story. If you guys have Amazon Prime, you should add the Gaia, Gaia channel. And when you do add it, it's like $5 a month or something like that. It's the only reason I have Amazon Prime. Look at there is a, I wouldn't call it a special, but more of a program that is on Amazon Prime called Deep Space. You should check that out. There's also a program called Cosmic Disclosure. You should definitely check that out too. Okay. There's some really cool stuff. I'm going to drop a few links, y'all, if you get interested in any, you know, and kind of following up a little bit more on this. That right there is a PDF file where you can do some more reading on this base and the crazy stuff that's going on at this base. And listen, this photo here is a real photo. There are a mule, right, is a cross between a donkey and a horse. They have been creating all sorts of hybrid creatures. And to us, we're sort of used to that hybrid animal cross. Look at tigers and lions. We call them ligers. Look at all the mapping that humans do, and even dogs when they're breeding dogs. They breed dogs for specific reasons. Literally, you know, they want to breed dogs to have a particular color of fur, all that kind of stuff. But just know that it is now legal in China and Japan to perform this type of research. It's kind of scary. No, ain't no kind of to it. It is definitely scary, okay? Now, there's also a really cool website called macroevolution.net. And I love this site because their links work. So, you know, it kind of looks like a site that maybe was built back in the 90s, but the links all work. The photos are all there. And there is some actually, you know, some really interesting photos like cat rabbit hybrids where they took, you know, the DNA of rabbits and cats and made a hybrid species. And there's a ton of pictures. Is a cross between a horse and a donkey, right? They have a sheep pig hybrid, dog cow hybrids, a lapon, which is a cross between a leopard and a lioness. Okay. So when you start really looking at some of these crosses of some of these animals, you're like, well, we're used to some of these animals being a part of our normal history books, like mules. Well, mules would be considered a hybrid cross. Where it gets really, really, really strange is when they start crossing human DNA with animal DNA. You'll start seeing photos of creatures that look, you know, they may look like a pig, but they got a human face, right? The thing that I wonder to myself when I see stuff like that is, does this, whatever you want to call it, this cross between human and pig, does it have a soul? Does it think like us? Any sort of human DNA, I'm going to wonder that, you know. Crosses between tiger DNA and rabbits, where you've got the rabbit, but the fur is like, has the spots, right, of a leopard. Sorry, not a tiger, a leopard. There is a very interesting word that you'll want to get used to called chimera. The chimera is what you would consider a hybrid. So if you hear the term chimera, just know that is not exactly a good thing, okay? Werewolves are popular in myth, right? It's all sorts of animals that are popular in mythology. Ever wondered why? Maybe they're a little bit more real than we thought. If you even look in the book of Jasher, guys, God even talks about how mankind started doing weird things like that. Okay. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Animal, human hybrids. Pretty strange looking shit, right?
And today we have the top 10 scary human-animal hybrid stories. Now, some of these stories are going to be about hybrids that were made in a lab by a scientist, but some of them are going to be just stories from around the world. We've got a nice healthy mix of both. It's up to you guys to decide what you think of all of them. Okay or not okay? Real or fake? Let's find out as we get into our number 10 with Oliver. Oliver was a chimpanzee that was acquired by American trainers in 1960. Now, they instantly thought something was strange about him. His face was too flat, his hair was too thin, his eyes were a strange color, and he also did something that no other chimp does. Oliver walked upright on two legs. This led his owners to speculate that he was the product of crossbreeding between a human and a chimp known as a humanzee. It might sound crazy, but Dr. Gordon Gallup of the University of New York said there was reason to suspect that Oliver may be a human-chimp hybrid. Humans and chimps share at least 99% of their basic biological chemistry. Oliver died in 2012 with the scientific community deeming him to be a normal chimp, although a full, complete DNA test was never done. Next up at number 9 now, we have the human-pig chimera. In January 2017, scientists announced they had created a real-life human-pig hybrid. The embryos they made were only a tiny bit human, less than 0.001%. The rest was all pig, but crucially, it was a hybrid. They only lasted for 28 days, but the scientists felt it was a step in the right direction. They hoped that eventually animals could even grow entire human organs ready for use. How does this one make you guys feel? I know it can be pretty divisive. At number 8 now, we have the Ningyo. The Ningyo is the Japanese equivalent of a mermaid, and in one special shrine, people claim they have a specimen. It's been dated to over 1,400 years old and bears a striking resemblance to the artwork depicting these creatures. Some visitors to the shrine claim that it's made out of stone or wood, but that's incorrect. It is genuine organic matter. Here's the thing though, other people say it's most likely advanced taxidermy, with people splicing them together after death. What do you guys think though? At number 7 now, we have the mouse ear. In 2016, Japanese scientists announced they had grown a human ear on the back of a rat. They used human stem cells injected into the rat. The stem cells developed into human cartilage tissue and molded in the rat into the shape of an ear. Now, the aim for all of this is to be able to help children with facial abnormalities and give them fully grown body parts from their own DNA so it won't get rejected. Coming in at number 6 now, we have the half sheep. In June 2017, villagers from South Africa said that the offspring of a local sheep was sent by the devil, but to others, though, it looked like a human-sheep hybrid. When the villagers called in expert help, even the chief director of the veterinary services said that he thought it looked oddly human. The vets then took it away to study. They suspected it was due to a fever in the sheep's mother that caused the deformity, but the village elders maintained that it was sent by the devil and was born after a coupling between a man and a sheep. All right, next up at number 5 now, we have the horse baby of Benin. This 2012 story comes from the city of Benin in Nigeria, where a woman gave birth to an offspring that looked a lot like a horse. This all happened in a church, with witnesses saying the mother had to hold on to someone's leg as she went into labor. The priest of the church then warned everyone around to stay clear of the demonic object. In reality, though, it is probably just a deformed human pregnancy or even a total fake, because we only really have this video to go on. Coming in at number 4 now, we have the Russian lamb. This claim comes from a farm in southern Russia in 2015, where a sheep gave birth to a lamb that basically looks like an old man, to be honest. See for yourself, though. The video shows the lamb not long after it was born, making sort of odd grunting noises as the mother tried to clean it. The farmer was shocked, and some of the locals thought it was actually a human-sheep hybrid. The general consensus, though, is that it's just a facial deformity, as the rest of the lamb seemed to be in working order. Moving on to number 3 now, we have the Thai cow. In 2010, a story emerged from Thailand of a cow that had given birth to a very human-like creature. The local people poured baby powder on the body and burned incense in the hopes of cleansing the area of evil. The mouth, head, and stomach were certainly quite human-looking, while the hooves were clearly cow-like. Although the local people think this is some evil hybrid, there's a good chance it is just a deformed cow calf. I also think the online hysteria was made worse with these pictures because of the baby powder. It really made this thing look even creepier. At number 2 now, we have the sheep with human livers. In 2005, researchers at the University of Nevada created sheep with organs containing millions of human cells. They announced they could grow livers in sheep that were 20% human. As with other examples we've talked about, the researchers used embryonic stem cells, and they did it for the same reason, to eventually develop fully grown human organs on demand. And finally, at number 1, we have the human mouse. The results of this experiment were announced in 2015. Scientists thought they had found a DNA sequence responsible for making human brains bigger than other animals. So they took the human gene for this and the chimpanzee version of the gene and put them into mice. The ones with the chimpanzee brain DNA didn't really have much bigger brains, but the ones with human sequences grew 12% bigger. The mice would not have gone to achieve human levels of intelligence, but these human mouse hybrid brains could be a step in that direction. All right, guys, those were our scary animal hybrid stories. Have you got any other good ones that you've heard about? Are any of you human hybrids? That would be weird. I'm Danny Burke. Thanks as ever for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Sorry about that. That's pretty freaky, right? So one of the things that is a little bit unsettling is the fact that there is a lot of talk about growing organs in these animals. And of course, who's going to turn that down? There's so many people that need transplants and things like that right now, and there's not enough donors. And so if there's a possibility that we can grow organs in these animals, who's gonna question that? But the other problem with that is we sort of go into an area of science that many feel violates just everything natural about whatever you want to call it. It just So strange. So now it's pretty much official with damn, sorry about that. So crazy. Second. The peril of human and animal chimeras. Merging animal and human forms brought terror to our ancestors, and this fear persists right the way into our modern age. In Greek mythology, the chimera is a monstrous fire-breathing creature typically described as having the head of a lion, a snake with a snake as a tail, and the head of a goat emerging from its back. Just as it terrorized the minds of the Greeks, this vision is also the cause of much consternation regarding the successful creation of the first human-pig hybrid embryos at the Salk Institute in California. In fact, such human-animal hybrids are often referred to as chimeras. While this scientific advance offers the prospect of growing human organs inside animals for use in human transplants, it can also leave some people with a queasy feeling. It was precisely this queasiness that led to the moratorium on funding for this program of research. People just cannot seem to stomach the idea of growing human kidneys in pigs. Is it against nature? Many of us are like 6-year-olds who turn their nose up at the idea of mixing broccoli with their mashed potatoes. We prefer to keep things pure, whether it is crossbred animals or racially mixed children. People who see the world as defined by underlying essences tend to reject this impurity. What is an underlying essence? It's the idea that things have certain necessary properties that are essential to them being what they are. So there's kind of a pigness that is exclusive to pigs and a humanness that is exclusive to us. Mixing human and animal biology is perceived as being unnatural. It's a very interesting topic. Our apparent comfort with some hybrids does not stop at just plants like boysenberries, which is a cross between raspberry, blackberry, dewberry, and loganberry, or the clementine, which is a cross between a mandarin and an orange. Mules have never been a source of alarm, yet they are the offspring of a male donkey and a female horse. It's some weird stuff. It is some really, really strange stuff. So I dropped a few links for you guys to go check out, some of those links and have fun. Animal pig hybrids, got like the pig or the nose of a pig, and y'all, it's so crazy. So crazy. And late last year, there were some photos that came out that showed these chimera embryos. Again, like if you look at mythology and some of the creatures like werewolves, Bigfoot, dragons, even all that type of stuff. Kind of makes you wonder, huh? There is a new show apparently out on Netflix. I think it's called Sweet Tooth or some crazy stuff like that, where they're literally doing a show about hybrid, cross mixed animal and human, whatever you want to call it. There's nothing natural about it at all. At all. And I think one of the things that people kind of get fearful of, it's like if you're going to use human DNA in these strange crossbreeded beings, what does that mean? Do they have a soul? Are they like us, only like a mentally retarded version of us? Yeah, it's like ethics. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's all I really had to really say. I've been researching this quite heavily, and you can even see here a cross between a fish with human DNA. Fish human hybrids. Real fish human hybrids. That's some really freaky shit. Using DNA from fish in human beings. Almost has the face of a human. Look at the eyes right here. And it's got that is crazy. Fish with a human face. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. But anyway, this right here is the in Greek mythology, what they call the chimera. It has, the head of a lion, a goat that protrudes out the back, the tail of a snake, and webbed feet. So do a little research on it. You guys might be quite interested in the topic. So I'm out of here, guys. Let's see here. I almost said something, but this isn't a petty life. You know what? We can go into a little petty right now. I was actually going to say something before I ended this. Because honestly, y'all, let me see. Do I have any other windows open now? Yeah, I was going to just mention something here at the end of this live. I know that a lot of people want me to respond or make videos about them, and they're posting over and over and over and over. The truth is this. All I'm going to say is when authorities knock on that individual's door, I don't want to hear a motherfucking thing. If an individual thinks they're going to sit on this line, okay, and every fucking day threaten my motherfucking safety and the safety of my family, you're going to see exactly the kind of heat I'm going to bring to you. So when they come and do this, I don't want to hear shit. I don't want to hear a motherfucking thing. All that talk of what they're going to do, what they're going to do, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, what the fuck ever. I'm always strapped, always. Oh, we got your location. We know exactly where you are. No, you don't. You don't have a fucking clue where I am, but I know where you are. And the truth is that, again, I don't give a fuck who you are. If you sit up on this line and you threaten me and my fucking family in any way, you may as well expect it. And I don't care what they say. I don't give a fuck. They can call it what do they call it? Snitching, whatever you say, whatever you fucking say. Some people seem like they want some sort of an altercation with FBIs and polices and all this weird shit. Like there's legit some people that are sitting up here begging. And it's kind of funny to me, honestly. It's absolutely ludicrous at this point, but it's fucking hilarious to me because I can be sitting over here, right? Sleep. Like this morning, I think I slept in until like 11 o'clock today or something because I was up really late last night. And I had a little bit of, had some stuff going on last night. But I'm literally, sleeping in. I wake up. I think I scheduled a live where we talked about what happened overnight with the tornadoes and things like that. But there be some people that are over there on other shit, weird shit. Y'all, all I'm saying is that if anybody gives a fuck about old boy over there, they'll have a conversation with him. You're going to come up here on this line doing one too many things. There's already enough where I'm pretty sure there could be some charges levied against some of these people that use the internet to come up and threaten other people, threaten them with rape and murder and shit. I don't have time for that. I'm not going to sit up here and even waste my time going on and on about it. It is what it is. So yeah, I want everybody to understand, okay, that my safety is just fine. I'm not at all worried about damn motherfucker. Okay. I live a pretty quiet personal life. And I don't exactly go around, exposing my location and shit. Okay. But there are some weird people that watch us, okay, on the internet. And there are some people that live so deep in poverty. They just live so deep in poverty of their mind. And I'm not talking about poverty in regards to riches. I'm talking about their motherfucking mind, okay? They can't even bring themselves to do anything in a positive manner, right? I don't really have anything to say about that type of shit. Individuals that are going to sit up on this bitch and threaten people, and I don't care who they're threatening, okay? It could be any content creator out here. If they think for 5 seconds that they're immune to something coming back on them or being charged with a crime for doing that type of shit, there's going to be a lot of wake-up calls coming, is all I'm going to say about that, really. That's really it. I mean, I don't have nothing else to say. I'm not going to sit up here and elaborate on this shit and go on and on. I'm over it, okay? I'm over it. It's December 11th. This is the year 2021, and I'm over it. I'm not going to sit over here and play games with these people. So all I got to say is when those folks knock on that motherfucking door, I don't want to hear shit. But y'all watch and see what I tell you. They're going to try to pull a lady manly dupe, right? And I think many people will I don't give a fuck. Let's just be clear. I don't give a fuck. Fuck you, okay? Fuck everything about you. I don't give a fuck about you. I don't give a fuck about your family. But you're not going to sit around and do all that bullshit, okay, and think you're going to get away with that shit. And that's going to be for anybody. Y'all got to stop with these, these crazy things that y'all say up here. And I'm talking to everybody. Like there's been a couple of different incidents of people, thinking that they, just because they're on the internet, they can say whatever they want and, throw threats and shit like that. And people are not going to play around with that type of shit. Like, it gets to a certain point. But you know what really is kind of crazy is when you realize that somebody is mentally ill. That really is something people should be concerned about, okay? Because that person may make a decision, a very rash decision, to do something stupid and may lose their life. All I'm saying is, y'all, I'm not worried about my safety. I'm always strapped, okay? And then I just want to be very vocal. If you think for 2 seconds that you'll ever be around my vicinity, you better think again. Now, I ain't no killer, but don't motherfucking push me. Don't motherfucking push me, because I will not hesitate. So if that woman loves her husband, she'll have a talk with him. Period. If you love your husband, you better have a conversation with him, because you and your husband and your family are about to go through some legal shit. I can assure you of that. I've about had enough of these people and their bullshit. I'm not going to sit up here and play with these people. And I don't give a fuck what y'all got to say about it either. Yeah, let me go to the FBI. I'm going to okay, whatever you say. That's all I got to say. There's nothing to say about it, y'all. I'm on to talking about important shit that interests me, and that shit really doesn't interest me. That shit's been going on for so long. What do they call it? The boy that cried wolf. The boy that always threatens people. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But he don't never do nothing. He's just all talk, all gum action. All gum action. But yeah, if you want to die, if you feel like dying, I can assure you that can happen. To a lot of you individuals out here who keep throwing out all these veiled threats at people and shit. Y'all, dead-ass serious, y'all must have a death wish, is all I gotta say. Y'all better quit that shit. But yeah, shout out to, those of y'all out there that have supported me. I appreciate you guys. And that's all I have to say about it. I guess probably the way I'll end this in saying is that I can assure you I'm not spending that much of my time, okay, each day worried about no motherfucker that screams and throws veiled threats on the internet. I'm not going to sit up here and spend my time on that type of shit. That's too much time wasted. I got better things to fucking do. Believe me, it's been noted. And the crazy thing, sorry about that. The crazy thing, or the truth is, man, I got a whole motherfucking team. I don't have to individually keep tabs with that shit. I got a whole motherfucking team. Yeah, y'all gotta stop doing that shit. Y'all got to learn to grow up and, quit thinking that just because you're sitting up on the internet that you're anonymous. Told us, right? All right, guys, I'm out of here. I don't have really anything else to add. I'm trying to think if I have any other items of important things to note. I don't think so. I'm good. I'm about to do a little bit of binge watching tonight. Deep Space. This is nice, very interesting documentary style series that I've been watching since yesterday. I don't really watch TV that much. I haven't watched TV in like 2 weeks, actually. But I caught this deep space documentary type series, and that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend, y'all. So I'm out of here. I'm going to go ahead and roll one. Y'all roll one and try to relax and shit like that. And I will see y'all when I fucking see you. Bye, guys.